Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have something a little different. Instead of one game, we actually have a double feature. Normally we show off games that are a little bit longer, but today we wanted to showcase two that were on the quick side of things. As many CEDH players will tell you, sometimes games do end quickly, but nevertheless, these were fun to play and I hope you enjoy. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. For game 1, we have mtga Lutz playing Tymna. This deck is otherwise known as Blood Pod. This is what's known as a meta crusher deck. It's a stax deck that is highly customizable to what you want to hate on. Its goal is to grind the game down and gain advantage, since you know the stax pieces are coming. Tuned to a specific meta, it can often hold the entire table down, but only if tuned properly. In the second spot, we have Porf, who has brought Najeela. This is a 5-color Thasos consultation list that backdoors into an infinite creatures combats combo with Najeela, who, even if just left alone, can amass a horde of warriors to take their opponents out. Next up, we have Edhrec Paladin. Man, he has really taken advantage of our Discord members' ability to play with us on camera. If you're interested in getting a few games in, hop onto our Discord to join this ever-growing community. We would love to meet new people, but I guess enough shilling for now. Edhrec has brought back Najeela. This version is based on wheeling. The deck is filled with the same great combos the typical shell runs, but he has upped the cheap interaction and relies on wheels to refill on card advantage. And bringing up the rear, we have Jimmy piloting Vega the Watcher. This is blue-white control at its core. The key card in this list is Isochron's Scepter. This artifact not only can combo for infinite mana with Dramatic, but can also grind insane value. As with Vega, every time he casts something, he'll also draw a card. But without further ado, let's get onto the gameplay. Lutz starts off with a nice turn 1. He plays and cracks a Verdant Catacombs to grab a Savannah, but shortcuts to cast the Llanowar Elves. Still not done, he finishes the turn with a Mox Diamond, pitching Bojuka Bog. Porf also has some early game ramp as he plays a Rejuvenating Spring, and uses it to cast the Soul Ring. Edhrec, not wanting to be left behind, cracks a Windswept Heath for a tropical island. Also shortcutting, he casts a Noble Hierarch. Jimmy plays a Mana Crypt before playing and sacrificing a Flooded Strand for a Tundra, but decides to just leave mana up.
Oh, you guys play so fast.
Yeah, I said let's play fast so we can have more games in.
You're funny.
You're still fetching, Rick?
God! Shuffle. You know what? Shuffling takes time.
Lutz looks to keep ramping as he plays an Ancient Tomb and powers out a Tymna, but leaves a mana floating to rush to combat to swing the Llanowar Elves at Porf, who takes it, and on Lutz's second main, he pays a life to draw a card. Porf shocks in an Overgrown Tomb and uses it to cast a Carpet of Flowers. He goes to his second main to activate the Carpet for red and cast Najeela. Jimmy responds with a Brainstorm and draws 3 and puts 2 back from his hand, but doesn't stop the Najeela. Edhrec on his upkeep casts an Enlightened Tutor. He finds a Jeweled Lotus to put on top, and draws it for turn. He plays a Command Tower as land, and then plays the Jeweled Lotus. The table has no responses, so he cracks it for triple red to cast his own Najeela. Jimmy loses his Crypt Trigger, and then plays a Cephalid Colosseum. Still on that ramp gang strategy, he casts a Mana Vault. He uses it and the Crypt to power out an Unwinding Clock, and passes so he can untap his rocks on Lutz's turn. Lutz and Jimmy untap, with Lutz not liking the fact that there are not 1 but 2 Najeela on the field. To remedy this, he casts a Swords to Plowshares on Porf's, with Jimmy responding with a Petty Theft to bounce Edhrac's Najeela. Wanting his commander, Edhrec responds with a Veil of Summer, but Jimmy digs in his heels and casts a Force of Will, pitching a miscast. Now with too much to lose, Edhrec responds with a Flusterstorm for a total of 5 instances to counter the Force. The stack finally resolves with the Force getting countered, the Veil stopping the bounce and drawing him a card, while Porf's Najeela is exiled and he gains a bit of life. It's still Lutz's turn, so he heads to combat. Tymna goes at Porf's, who takes the hit again, and Lutz gains 2 life and then pays 1 of it to draw an extra card on his second main. He then plays an Exotic Orchard and says no to his opponent's commanders as he casts a Dranite Magistrate, but hands the turn over to Porf's after that. although not for long, as in Porf's upkeep, Luce casts an Abrupt Decay to take out the final commander still left on the table. Porf then continues on and plays and cracks a Marsh Flats. He remembers to activate his Carpet for red and finds an Underground Sea. After finding the land, he casts a Dockside Extortionist, who on ETB nets him 4 treasures. Still having 1 colorless floating, he taps for a black and then casts a Demonic Tutor.
Yeah.
Sure.
Find her Adnos.
Porf finds a card and then cracks his treasure to cast an Ad Nauseam. He starts revealing cards and the damage starts adding up really quickly.
Wow, this is probably one of the most unfortunate ad nauseams. 27, 28.
He gets low but has no choice but to keep going, until he ends up taking himself out with his own card. The turn then moves to Drac and he plays a Taiga as land. Following this, he taps the Hierarch and lands for mana before casting an Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing the tap Noble. He finds a value Hull Breacher but has nothing else. Jimmy wins his Crypt Trigger this time and decides to leave mana up and passes. Lutz also has a tutor on his upkeep. He casts a Worldly Tutor to find a Collector Oof, since he doesn't have a counterspell for the upcoming wheel from Drac. He then starts emptying his hand. He first casts a Village Bellringer to untap his elf. He then casts the Collector Oof. Having all the artifact hate, he then meltdowns all CMC 0 artifacts before heading to combat. He swings Tymna at Drac and the Drenith at Jimmy. They take the hit, and at his end step, Drac casts a Vampiric Tutor to find a card to put on top.
So
I'm gonna find this card.
Is it a wheel?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Drac draws his tutored card and then immediately casts his Time Twister. It resolves and Drac draws 7 and creates 14 treasure, while the rest just shuffle. He finds a land and plays an Underground Sea, and follows it up by paying 2 life to cycle a Gitaxian Probe.
I'll look at, Jimmy's empty hand.
Here's my hands. Do you see my hands?
Sure.
Not having a way of removing the oof, Drac heads to combat swinging the Hull Breacher at Jimmy. Jimmy draws and plays and cracks a Windswept Heath to find a tapped Hollowed Fountain. Lutz draws for turn, but decides to instead cast his commander Tana. Seeing his only way out being player removal, he swings his board at Drac, who takes it and at his end step casts a Mystical Tutor to find a Fire Covenant. Drac draws, but first plays and cracks a Wooded Foothills for a Savannah. He uses it to cast a Silence to prevent any shenanigans from Lutz. It resolves and he finally casts the Fire Covenant to remove every creature except the Hull Breacher. Now with access to his treasure, he recasts his commander Najeela and then follows it up with a Derevi, which untaps a land. Unfortunately, he can't win, but has more things to cast. He plays a Rhystic Study and then a Vexing Shusher. Drax finally heads to combat and swings the Hull Breacher at Lutz. On damage, he untaps his command tower and passes. Jimmy draws but does nothing with his turn and hands it over to Lutz. Lutz draws but doesn't have an answer. He was unfortunately 1 mana short to cast the Sire of Insanity the turn before, and the table gives the game to Drac. Game review. Man, that game did not go well for Porfs. That Ad Nos was probably the worst I think I've ever seen. He wasn't even at a low life total either, but I guess that's just how things can go sometimes. As for Jimmy, it looks like he just wasn't able to set up a value engine fast enough. He had the mana, but nothing to do with it. And with the Dranith, Hull Breacher, and then the Oof out, he had very little he could have done by the end. As for Lutz, he did admit that the Oof was probably not the correct choice, and instead an Archon of Emeria might have been better, as it would have let Jimmy stay in the game potentially. As for Drac, he played a pretty clean game. It was although a hope and pray strategy with the Hull Breacher wheel, and I assume he only went for it as he saw a lack of blue presence after Porf was taken out of the game. But before everyone leaves, I want to remind you there's a bonus game right after this. Game 2. For Game 2, we were joined by another YouTuber, Commander's Challenge. This is another Commander gameplay channel, and you guys should check them out. I believe he also released this gameplay on his channel, so go show your support. Hidden is playing Animar. This creature-based combo deck aims to utilize Animar's cost reduction ability to cheat mana and assemble a few different combos to take his opponents out. Next, we have Cody from the Commander's Challenge. He has brought a new list to the channel, this being Grenzo, Dungeon Warden. He did cut the traditional Doomsday route, But this deck is super interesting to play, and I hope I'll see more of it next time we play. In the third spot is Jimmy, playing Marath. This Naya control deck looks to use creature-based stax cards, along with Marath, to slow his opponents down until he can assemble one of his own combos. It's a great deck that preys on both combo and creature strategies. And bringing up the rear is Danny, who also brought a new commander to the table. Orval, the All-Form, is a mono-blue control strategy that aims to gain infinite mana off a Peregrine Drake and a buyback card such as a Whim of Volrath, while controlling the board with counter magic. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, I will start it off, and I will take 2 for a Steam Vents. Then I will play a Chrome Mox. Then I will imprint a Bane of Progress.
Yes.
And then tap 2 for a Tribe Elder. And then to save time, I'm just going to sacrifice that for a Island and pass.
I'm gonna play a swamp and pass the turn.
Alright, untap, upkeep, draw. Mana Confluence, take a life and cast Soul Ring.
I'll play a Snow-Covered Island and pass.
I will play Animar and be done after that.
I will play a mountain for land, and I'm gonna tap 2 for my commander as well. Grinzo the Dungeon Warder.
Bloodstained Mire. I'm gonna cast a Cetessan Champion.
Ooh, interesting.
Cree 100%.
Also a really good blocker.
Sure, that's what you'll use that for.
It's
I'll
good.
play Command Beacon. I'll tap 2 for a Monstone,
Okay.
and I'll pass the turn.
All right. Well, I'm gonna risk it for this. I'm gonna cast an Ancient Animus to put a +1/+1 counter on Animar, and then if it's legendary, it fights an opponent's controlled monster. So I'm gonna fight that Cetessan champion.
Okay. So my champion's a 1/1 now? Or has
Yep.
1 toughness?
Does it resolve?
Yeah, it resolves.
So champion is down.
Nope, it's alive. It's a 1/3.
Oh, it's a 1/3. Oh, god dang it.
Yeah, got him.
It doesn't matter too much. I just didn't want you to kill Animar. And then for a blue, I'm going to cast a Gilded Drake. And Gilded Drake is going to enter, and he is going to... I'll take the champion. So, then I will move to combat, and I will swing 3 at you, Cody.
Yeah, I'm not gonna block that, so I will take 3. I'm so glad you didn't take my commander. I would have been really sad, so I'm gonna untap, upkeep, and draw.
Enchantment.
I'm gonna play Snow-Covered Swamp, and...
I was happy. You put the Bane under the thing, right?
Yeah.
Best day of my life.
I'm gonna tap 3 and cast a Basalt Sliver.
Okay, I'm gonna fetch at the
Uh-oh.
end step. A basic Montagna. Float a colorless. And cast Fertile Ground.
Okay.
Chanting this mountain. Yeah. I'm going to... I have colorless floating. I'll add white with the Fertile Ground and red. I'm going to cast an Archon of Emeria.
Ooh.
I'll swing 3 in the air at Steve.
Alright, go ahead and tap. Draw. This is like the best option I got. Alright, I'm gonna tap for blue, and I'm gonna cast a Mystical Mora.
Ooh, that's
Cool.
good.
Yep,
That'll
and
save-
yeah, it's
Play out an island, and I guess I'm going to start with a Manowar.
Yep, I have no response.
Danny. All right, so it's gonna bounce the Archon. Gonna go up to 3. Then with 4 mana, I'm gonna try and cast an Ancestral Statue.
Oh, that's not good. Too bad you had that bounce creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good, man. See what you got.
All right, so the Ancestral will whoosh So Animar is infinitely large.
Yep. And everything's infinitely cheap.
And Ancestral will come back to my hand on the last bounce. I will cast a duplicate.
I'm gonna sacrifice the sliver for 2 black, and with that 2 black, I'm going to activate Grinzo. Okay.
You got it. Does every creature in your deck have that effect?
I wish, but no. I wish, but no. I don't like him getting rid of Grinzo though. But alright, I'm gonna sacrifice the elemental, add 2 red.
Okay.
Spend
Yep.
that 2 red and activate Grinzo.
Okay.
The Soul Ring. That's bad. And
Grinzo's only creatures, right?
yeah, I will pass priority.
All right. So then the duplicate's gonna enter and it's gonna exile Grenzo.
I will put him in the command center.
Then I'm gonna move to combat and Jimmy.
Yeah, I can't block.
Then on my second main, I'm gonna cast an Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger.
Oh shit.
Oh, shit.
I think it's a GG, guys.
I think so.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, and it's gonna exile your command beacon and island, Danny. And then I'm gonna recast my ancestral statue to bounce the Ulamog.
Yep.
And then
Exile,
recast
yeah.
Ulamog,
That's GG.
and then
man.
exile. Yeah.
GG's.
Game review. Well, I don't think there's much to say about this one. Hidden just drew exactly what he needed. It would have been a much different story if he hadn't had a way of dealing with the Archon, but speculation is just that. And I hope you enjoyed this little experiment. If you did, throw a like on the video, and if there's anything else you'd like to see us play, let us know in the comments down below. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link, and if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.